So when it's translated, "Oh Lord, indeed my hair has surely gone gray," right? That type of expression. Shaitan, who whispers in the very hearts of men. Whispers in the very hearts of men. It is not the eyes that go blind, but it is the very hearts of men. That's the type of emphasis that you're supposed to have. Right? Imam Ibn Al-Jawzi, rahimahullah, he then says, quote, which mountains are being referred to? What mountain range is being referred to in this context? Three points have been said by three groups of people on this matter. Some people have said that it is one of the mountains in the mountain range in Philistine, as said by Ibn Abbas. And secondly, that it is a mountain which they gathered at the base of the mountain, as said by Qatada. And thirdly, it is the mountain which the Lord manifested his signs to Musa, as said by Mujahid. The majority position of the scholars is that the mountain was only raised over the children of Israel when the Torah was being revealed. And As-Sudai has said that this was done as well when they entered the Holy Land. The words of the Exalted One, so take a hold of what we have given you and hold firm to it. The intent here of power or holding firm to something is holding on to it and working hard to see that it doesn't slip from one, as said by Ibn Abbas, Qatada, and As-Sudai. Secondly is to be obedient, as said by Abu al-Aliyah. And thirdly is to act by what's in it, as said by Mujahid. Fourthly, it is to be truthful, as is said by Ibn Zayd. Remember what's in it is meaning remember the rewards and punishments mentioned therein, because they are true, as said by Ibn Abbas. Secondly, it's saying take lesson from what you find in it, as said by Az-Zujaj, so that you might have fear and piety. Ibn Abbas says, meaning so that you might have fear of the punishment that is to come. Then the Exalted One says, then you turned away after that, and had it not been for the favor of Allah and His mercy upon you, you would have been from among the losers. Turning away here means to say you turned away from acting by what was in the Torah and by holding to the covenant that you'd taken. Had it not been for the favor of Allah upon you and His mercy, you would have been punished altogether. The Exalted One then says, وَلَقَدْ عَلِمْتُمُ الَّذِينَ اعْتَدَوْا مِنْكُمْ فِي السَّبْتِ فَقُلْنَا لَهُمْ كُونُوا قِرَدَةً خَاسِئِينَ فَجَعَلْنَاهَا نَكَالًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهَا وَمَا خَلْفَهَا وَمَوْعِظَةً لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. And you know assuredly those who transgressed among you in the matter of the Sabbath. We said to them, be apes despised. The Sabbath is a well-known day that's known of. In the language of the Arabs, according to Ibn Al-Ambari, the word sabt or Sabbath in the language of the Arabs for Saturday means to cut off, to stop, to cease from action. And the word sabt in the linguistic pattern means to shave off, to cut off hair in totality. So it's said that when one takes off their sandals, that they are doing sabt to their sandals, meaning cutting them off, taking them off in totality. When the hair is being shaved, it's cut in totality. And so because of that, it's called sabt. Because Allah the Exalted began the creation on the sabt, and the creation ceased after that point. because it stopped on Friday. Allah ordered the children of Israel to stop all work and to leave it. Some say it's also called Sabbath, because Allah ordered them to rest from all work. But this is a mistake to mean rest from all work, because in the language of the Arabs, Sabt does not have the meaning of resting from all things. In the description of their rebellion in the Sabbath, there are 2 points. One is that they took fish and went fishing on the day of the Sabt when they were not supposed to. It's stated by Al-Hasan al-Muqatil. And secondly is that they went out and transgressed in the matter of the Sabbath. And also some of them took Sunday as a Sabbath. And so when the man would do this, this is where the punishment came from. Also, the day of the Sabbath, when the fish were in the water would part. And the fish would come to the top. Whereas any other day, the fish would be submerged in the water and they had to fish for them and struggle to take them. But on the Sabbath, they were clearly present. Allah had declared it impermissible for the man mentioned in the narration who began the first violation of the Sabbath. He went and took the fish until they went fishing and believed that they would not be punished. And so then they went forward and they were later punished. Close quote. Now, what this is referring to is the Sabbath. If you should go to any Jewish section of town, and I mean Orthodox Jews, I don't mean conservative or reform, actual committed Jews, one of the things you will notice on Friday at sunset, at Maghrib time, and you'll obviously be either on the way home or to some other location, but you will notice that there are no Orthodox Jewish people driving cars on the street. Their food is on top of a basin on low heat on the stove, and they will not turn it up or touch the controls. When the Jews were in Egypt, they used to hire Muslims to come in on the Sabbath and to prepare their meals and to clean their meals and such, to prepare and dish out their meals, because they could not do any work. They are not to kindle fires. They're not to strike the final nail into a board. They're not to do anything that constitutes what would be their work week on the Sabbath. And it was so serious that, according to the rabbinical law, you're put to death under the Jewish governance if you do work on the Sabbath. So Allah, when He's speaking to the Jews, says, you know very well. So Allah is addressing the Jews in the Qur'an. You know very well what happened when they transgressed in the Sabbath. So Allah is speaking to the Jews as if they know the context of what's being referred to. You know very well what happened when you transgressed in the matter of the Sabbath. Because on the Shabbat, or Shabbos, as it's called, both terms, the Jews will refrain from all work from sunset on Friday to sunset on Saturday. They will spend the time worshiping, going to shul. If you ever get the opportunity to see it, if you ever make a friend, if you ever know someone that's an Orthodox Jew and you're invited over, sometimes on the odd occasion they'll invite people over. If you see how busy the house is 2 hours before Shabbat arrives, it's absolute pandemonium. People are running. The kids are running wild. They're going crazy. The mother's trying to get control of everything because the food's got to be done at this time, by that time. She's opening the cabinet. She's looking at the time. Okay, I've got, let's see, 5 by 12. I've got 45 minutes before Yossi comes home. And then once he's home, then I've got to... And they're thinking of all these different things that they've got to get done. Then the husband, when he gets in, he gets control of the kids. He's getting everything ready. They're getting on their Sabbath best clothes because they need to be at shul or the synagogue where they're going to do the prayers there. The women do the prayers at home. They have to have all these things ready. The stove is on low heat. The food is warming there. Everything must be ready. And for years and years and years, they've been doing this Sabbath. But there have been times where some amongst them have violated it. And this is what Allah is making reference to, that they indeed have violated the Sabbath. after Allah made that covenant with them. We, alhamdulillah, we have been protected and saved from the punishment of the Sabbath. People that pray Salat al-Eid or they pray Salat al-Jum'ah, if they want to return to work, they may, if they're able. And if they don't want to and they're in the position where they don't have to, they don't have to. They're not in any situation where what? You've returned to Jum'ah, you've returned to work after Jum'ah, this person must be killed. Can you imagine how many brothers would be dead? On top of other things. But it's a serious matter. So that's one of the things you'll see that is probably the most unique sign of Jewishness in any neighborhood you go into. Even in majority Muslim countries where you'll see Jewish communities, you'll drive through certain parts of town and it's just dead. It's Friday night. The whole place is dead. Other parts of town, the people, if you go to Manchester, Golders Green in London, or Stamford Hill, certain parts of Stamford Hill, there's massive student block parties and people stair jumping and shouting out of windows and playing loud cacophonic rock music and everything else. And then you drive 2 blocks up and it's dead. It's like everyone's moved out. The lights are on and other things, but it is absolutely quiet. And it is because of the Sabbath. So Allah revealed this to the children of Israel. And it was designed to teach them a lesson. But they rebelled in that regard. Imam Ibn Al-Jawzi rahimahullah, he then says, quote, Uthman ibn Ata narrated from his father who said, those who transgressed in the Sabbath used to call out to the people in 3 voices. People of the land. Another one would call out, people of the land. And they would call out, both men and women and children. And when they transgressed, Allah said, so be apes despised. Allah said to them this expression, and those who forbid them from violating the Sabbath entered upon them, and they said, have we not forbidden you from this action? And they shook their heads to say yes. Qatada says, the people at that point that had shaken their heads yes, they became apes. And it was both men and women that this happened to. And in a narration from Qatada, they became like small apes. And their scholars became pigs because they began the process. No one was saved from the transformation of those who violated the Sabbath except those that had forbid them. The rest of them were destroyed. Those who had committed this action, that had done the forbidding, they were 70,000. Now, Mujahid and others have said that the transformation that happened, meaning to be apes, was their hearts, but their bodies weren't transformed. However, this is a statement that is far-fetched indeed, because Ibn Abbas has said, they shall not be brought to life on the earth except in 3 days. And no one transformed in the earth shall come about except above 3 days. And they shall not eat and drink, nor have lineage. Now Muqatil has said that they lived 7 days after this moment, and they died on the 8th day. And some say that this transformation, when they transgressed in the Sabbath, took place in the time of the Prophet Dawood alayhi salam. When they're called khasi'in, it means despicable, despised, far from the people. Close quote. Now, there's a couple of things here. One is there's some dispute among some scholars as when it says, be apes despised. Some say it means their heart. They became more wicked. They became rejected. It's a metaphor. But there's some that say, no. It was a literal transformation. They literally became apes and swine. And so they lived for 3 days.